Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Card Shop. This is the Big Dog. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Mike Fruitman, and we're proud to be joined today by Rich Layton, owner of Layton Sports Cards, now in Florida. So, Rich, we have a tradition that I did that Mike thinks is corny as hell, but I do it anyway, and that is we put up my background is always something that's relevant to the guest. So I think, you'll appreciate this. And because of what it is, I probably can't leave it up for more than a few minutes, or Mike will probably vomit onto the screen. So,
no, that's not it.
Beautiful. Love it.
So, Rich, one of the reasons, one thing that turned me on to you before I even knew you guys existed was there was a video way back in your early days. You had this real high-end product that you busted, and you busted a Brady jersey, and the idyllic nature that you acted on with that and how you played into the moment of busting that. I think you were at home doing it then. I was like, okay, this guy gets into this. He's a card nerd and he's a sports nerd like the rest of us. And that kind of matters to me when you look at this stuff. So, that was good, man. That was good.
That was a product by Super Break, and it was really expensive. And actually, if I remember correctly, it was a personal. The whole case was.
It was. One guy bought the whole thing.
Yeah, and it was for Brandon V, or otherwise known as BV, and he actually gave me that jersey as a gift.
Oh, he did.
He gave it to me. I tried to refuse it on so many levels.
Right.
Because it's ridiculously expensive jersey. He knew how much it meant to me, and he's a Chiefs fan, so he wasn't going to be hanging it up on his wall or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
So he actually gave that to me. That jersey sits in my office in a frame right now to this day.
Right.
Just an incredible piece.
Cool. Yeah. So how are your loyalties these days? Do you still bleed blue and red, or are you kind of split between the two teams?
So that's a tough question. I root for. I'm a Patriot fan. I was a Patriot fan before Brady came along. I was actually my one of my favorite all-time players is Drew Bledsoe. I was a big Bledsoe fan. And that's he's kind of what got me into the Patriots. So I was a really big Bledsoe fan. Obviously, he gets hurt. Brady comes in. The rest is history. But, what Brady had done for that organization is just, as an understatement, would say remarkable. So I still root for him. I root for Gronk. I root for the Bucks. I root for the Patriots. If they face in the Super Bowl, I'm a Patriots fan first and foremost. However, I'm a diehard Brady collector, and I'm a diehard Brady fan. So, I'm always going to.
Sure. Yeah. So you were a Jersey guy originally, right?
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. So, back in the day, so just help me with a little bit, how, Mike, I'm sure, and you guys have rubbed elbows, and we have not been disappointed yet with how people know each other when it comes to Mike, and Mike's such a piece of the industry. I'm curious how you guys met and how you guys know each other.
Okay. Funny you bring this up. Sara and I were talking about this a few days ago, and we actually were pretty sure so we knew of each other for a while, and I think we had crossed paths on social media a few times. But I think the first time we actually met in person was I want to say it was I don't know if it's the first one, but the Upper Deck Conference, not the last one, but the one before that was in Florida. Yeah. I think that was the first time we met face to face. That would have been, 4 years ago?
I think so, yeah. I remember the first time I called you, it was the night that I figured out that Panini was doing First Off the Line.
Yep, and I remember that conversation well. And actually, I still stick by those words that I'd spoken to you that that day.
If you want to repeat them, go right ahead. If you want to keep them, go right ahead too.
Well, I knew where it was headed. I could see where things were heading, and I knew then and there that it was going to lead to more direct sales via the website.
Yeah.
Not even first off the line sales, but I knew eventually what it was going to mean for hobby allocations. And I knew they weren't going to make more hobby products because of it in terms of the actual amount of boxes. They were just going to take from the set amount of hobby, pull X amount aside for first off the line, put exclusive parallels in it, and then shrink the allocations that much more, which look, everybody made money off of it. Everybody seems to be happy with it these days. I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people seem happy with it these days. And we've I guess we've grown to be used to it. People seem to forget how things were before first off the line came around. So, I guess you just take the good with the bad and you learn how to adjust and adapt.
I remember calling you and I was thinking, all right, we got to stop this. Hold on. Who can I call? Juice. And I'm thinking, Rich more than I do.
Yeah. I don't exactly have a lot of pull. Whether people like to think so or not. I do, I have a lot of people's phone numbers saved in my phone, and I do text a lot of different people in the industry pretty often that can give me some insight and stuff about what they're thinking and stuff like that. But yeah, when that was announced, that was a shocker to a lot of us. And, I guess we're all still watching it unfold in front of our eyes.
All right.
Right. So, let's advance this. You can advance this. So, we are where we are today. And, if you're a manufacturer, you see all the prices that are coming from distributors to shops, and you're going, holy shit, I want a piece of that. And so that kind of evolves. And, that was dipping their toe in the water. I mean, where do you think we are today? And what do you think is going to be next with regard to that product and how they're playing this out?
So you mean in terms of first off the line, or in terms of just hobby products in general?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Feels like first off the line, the die's cast, right? I mean, they've kind of done what they've done. It's the regular hobby that I'm really radared up on right now.
Okay, so what's interesting is that the two are kind of paralleling each other right now. The market is the customers and the people in the market, the customers of the market and the customers of the industry are dictating both. It's kind of interesting. I think hobby allocations and the tightening of the allocations are driving people to buy more first off the line, which in turn drives that price up. Single prices are going up, so people are buying singles more often and everybody's flipping more often, which is also driving hobby sales up. So it's an interesting kind of dominoes that are set up right now. So as first off the line prices go up, so does hobby, so does singles, and so on and so forth. It's kind of an interesting chain of events that keeps happening with each new release, or at least each major new release.
Right.
As far as where it's going, I don't see any slowdown or any end in sight right now in terms of the jump that we've had for the last, let's face it, it's been 2 years straight. Everybody likes to think, oh, this happened in April. It didn't happen in April.
Thank you.
No.
We actually had last year, 2019 was our biggest year ever by far. It wasn't even, we crushed it. We had a crazy year. And then really the last quarter of 2019 heading into 2020, we were slammed. January was busy. February was crazy. And then March and April hit. And then obviously, with the pandemic and everything, things got crazy for everybody at that point.
The rumor on it was everybody was fleeing sports cards when COVID began, and you were one of the few who saw it differently. That you went some body part deep into this. Are we allowed to say ball, Sean? I mean, you're kind of involved with ball. So.
I just said shit. What are you worried about? Come on.
I think that was Rich's favorite part of the video, where he's like, "Wait a second, I can curse. Hold on, this is great."
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to click a different box on YouTube.
Yeah, it's look, off camera, I probably swear like a sailor. We all kind of do, but on camera,
sure,
we try to get.
There's kids.
So.
Yep.
So
yeah, we put on it's not kid friendly, so you can have what you're going to have. We're not going to get into sailor jokes, but you know, it's okay. Yeah, what's funny, so Rich, when this started, you know, our first card shop episode was right as COVID started getting, like, the awareness was increasing in the US. Right. And we kind of had that whole conversation around, you know, what's going to happen? Is it going to be, you know, is the lack of sports going to drive people to cards or away from cards? Our hobby is an out of sight, out of mind hobby. You can look at it. Off season basketball cards are cheaper. On season, they go up. It's just like you buy your convertible in the fall and you sell it in the spring. It's the same thing, but there was this flood, and you know, I'm impressed that you called that shot, and it was the right play.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Mike was actually trying to say is there was a post in Mike's Facebook group on the sports in the shop owners only.
Okay. Yep.
It was a insightful post from a couple of people that really thought, you know, it was time to sell. It was time to get out. People were panicking. Shops were being shut down. Customers weren't allowed in. Curbside pickup, this, that, and the other thing. People didn't know what to do. And I honestly, the first thing that went through my mind was I honestly see an opportunity here. And, you know, I actually, I thought it was an opportunity for everybody to really, you know, kind of hunker down and stick to your guns and watch everything explode. And that's exactly what happened. There were a lot of buying opportunities in late March, early April. And if you cashed in and you kind of stuck your neck out on the line, it paid off within a month or two. With the jump in prices, literally everything across the board went up in price.
Yeah, it's you're the only person I know. A lot of people say they did, but you're the only person I'm pretty sure who went crazy deep on things. And so, what were they like calling distributors? Were they like, "Yes, you could have everything you want," or was there hesitancy? Or
there was some hesitancy, especially with like high-end stuff. I mean, that's kind of always the case with certain distributors. For the most part, I mean, distributors were kind of in the same boat as shop owners. They didn't know what to do. There were a couple of sub-distributors that I spoke with that held steady, and they made the right choice. There were a couple of sub-distributors that were dumping and just selling anything they could. And I tried to buy everything that I knew my customers enjoy ripping. I tried to buy as much as I could of everything, and I just kind of sat on it and just, you know, tried to take. I don't want to use the words take advantage, but I mean, you know, we could have been caught in a really bad position.
Right. I mean, you took the risk.
Yeah.
I mean, you took the risk. So it's hard, you know, I always love people who sit, you know, Mike and I have both played blackjack pretty consistently. You know, we'll sit at a blackjack table and you can get your head handed to you for an hour and you can be like $2,000 deep. All of a sudden you go on a hot run, you got $1,000 of chips in front of you, and some jackass will walk up behind you and go, "Man, that guy's the luckiest guy in the world." No, right. I'm not. You didn't take into context. You know, anybody who busts your chop for taking a risk and being successful, they're crazy. Because it's like, that's great now. Today, you're a genius and you did bad things. No, you didn't. You took advantage of a market and took a chance. You could have gotten slammed.
Yeah, we could have been slaughtered. That's true. I mean, I didn't overexpose ourselves. We were pretty safe about how we did it. And we had a lot of really good inventory, like solid inventory at the time. I wasn't sitting on like a bunch of junk wax or a bunch of stuff that I knew I couldn't sell. So, you know, and I was kind of buying pretty strong at the time too. So, I mean, I kept telling everybody, like, please guys, like, listen to me. I promise you, like, hold on to your stuff. Don't panic sell. Everybody relax. This is going to work out. And I tried posting that on Mike's Facebook page multiple times. And, you know, there were some people that listened and it paid off for them. And there's some that didn't. And, you know, now they're doing the, I wish I could have this, or I wish I did this or that. You know?
Yeah. The classic regrets. Yeah.
So we didn't start off with how we normally start off with is the how did you get to where you are now? So the you want to talk about pre-breaking Rich and how that changed?
So It's kind of a long story. I mean, I used to collect as a kid. Just, I mean, like almost all of us used to as well.
Yeah.
I actually, it was kind of, serendipitous, if you will, that I became a card shop owner. My dad built me a miniature card store in my attic when I was probably 7, 8 years old, about 8 years old, maybe 9. And my buddies used to come over my house and we would buy and sell and trade from each other. I mean, like 25 cents, 50 cents, 10 cents, a penny, whatever. And we all kind of hung out in my attic. I had friends I grew up in Cape May, New Jersey. So a lot of my friends were like from the Coast Guard base. And even, there were a few local kids that would come over and we would collect cards. And every once in a while, we'd all kind of chip in together, buy a box of like 86 tops, 87 tops. So yeah, I was technically a card shop owner, if you will. Technically, at the age of probably 9 years old. I did that for like a year or so, and then we grew tired of it. You know how it is. And I stopped collecting probably when I was about 14 years old or so. I didn't really get back into it much until one day my wife came home with a box of, I want to say it was 2011 Topps baseball, and I want to say it was Series 1, I believe. 2011.
If it was
Topps.
update, you would have remembered.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So she comes home with this box of cards. I hadn't opened a box of cards for, at that point, it was probably close to 20 years. And cards were totally different. I mean, the basics of cards were pretty much the same. It was still, the touch of cards were a little different. They had a glossy feel to them. It kind of felt like, 87 Fleer glossy or something like that, or 86, so yeah, I saw like a jersey. I pulled like a jersey card, and I think there was an autograph, like a sticker autograph. And I had no idea that they were even autographing cards at the time. I had no clue. This took me, I opened the box of cards. It took me to YouTube, or actually it took me to Google, because I started searching like, values of cards and like different products that were out at the time. And it took me kind of down a rabbit hole on YouTube. And I saw a guy by the name of The Truth 17. That's what he used to be known as. And it's Chad from Firehand Sports Cards. He's probably the first guy I ever saw breaking a box of cards, which led me to watching Chris Justice. Chris Justice led me to watching a couple other guys. I'd say Live Case Break. They were around back then. They were pretty new, brand new at the time. They had a ton of people watching them break live. Mojo Break were another set of guys, that we're great friends with to this day. And I saw these guys opening cards on camera, and I had no clue what was going on. So I actually, believe it or not, I sent an email. I sent 2 emails. I sent one email to Chris Justice, and I sent another email to the guys at Mojo Break. And I said, what is this? I have no idea what's going on. They kind of filled me in and said, we do group breaks, and we stream live on this channel and this, that, and the other thing. And I said, I feel like this is something I'd really enjoy doing. And I feel like I might have something to offer this community. And, one thing led to another. I started opening, like, I think it was single box breaks of 2011 or 2012 Bowman Chrome Hobby. We were doing like 1 or 2 box breaks of it. A couple people would watch me. That turned into 10 people watching, which turned into 20, and so on and so forth. It just snowballed from there. And fast forward, 8 years later, and here we are.
Yeah, what drove your trip from Jersey down to Florida, and what was the primary driver around that part?
Weather. We actually had the opportunity to move down to Florida. We knew some people in this area, and You know, that we kept complaining all the time that, you know, we were just sick and
Right.
tired of scraping ice off our windshield and digging out
Right.
cars from the snow in the wintertime. And the last winter we had spent in New Jersey, I want to say there wasn't a lot of snow that year, but it was all ice. It was literally underneath of 10, 15 degrees for 2 weeks straight.
Right.
We were like in a frozen tundra. It was just this crazy front that wouldn't stop, you know, icing over our area. It was just bone-chilling cold and windy and icy every day for what seemed forever. And that was it. We were done. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I mean, we haven't looked back since. I mean, we have a lot of friends and family in New Jersey still.
Sure.
And we miss them very much. But, you know, I mean, we're happy we made the move. We love it down there.
Sounds like Colorado.
Well, if you haven't seen, we're getting the gift today in Colorado. We're getting probably 5 to 10 inches of snow, and obviously with all the fires going on in the mountains, we need the snow there. But you know, you watch the Chiefs Broncos game today, you're going to see snow on the field, and it's freaking October. And around here, there's a rule that snows around Halloween, so you know it's not a surprise. But you know, it's like, what the hell? Come on.
So looking at 2020 when and it started before that, when a lot of other folks started getting into breaking, when it became a more accepted thing, and people were looking for different breakers. I mean, have you gotten that same email from other people? How do I become a Rich Layton?
Every day, pretty much every day. Definitely multiple times per week. And I try to be upfront and I try to be pretty sincere with those people because, I mean, without, you know, a couple of those guys reaching back out to me, who knows? I may not have gotten into breaking at all, you know? So I try to, you know, I'm not going to, if they're willing to work and they're willing to put in the legwork and do research on their part, then I'll help fill in the missing pieces for them, you know?
Nice.
Yeah. So what advice would you give somebody? I mean, what advice do you give these folks that are starting out? I mean, what do you tell them? You know, I'll save you a lot of phone calls. We can put it on here and you can just send a link to the show the next time someone calls you.
No, it's really, listen, starting off in 2020 is not starting off in 2012. It's not starting off even. There's a large amount of breakers that started off 4 or 5 years ago that are today considered bigger breakers, and they got in right before the other shoe fell.
Right.
You know, there's just a limited amount of product. There's a limited amount of everything. There are plenty of customers, however. So if you can find a way to kind of get your foot in the door, buy some products, get a small following, make them happy, have that small following, tell their friends and post on social media and everything else, it can get momentum and you can make it work. It's a lot of work though. It's a lot of work. It's 24/7. You've got to be willing to be live. You've got to be willing to be on camera when nobody else is. When you're first starting. Obviously, when you're 8 years in or 10 years in or whatever it might be, and you have a giant following, you know, you can kind of dictate the parameters to which you're willing to go in terms of providing your service. But when you're brand new, you have to be at your customers' disposal 24/7, all the time.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find so interesting that's changed in the last, I'm going to say 7 years, because I remember 2013, it was starting to be a thing, was the relationship between shops and breakers. And initially, I would say it was, let's just use the word tense, where, you know, we're established, we've got retail locations, and who are these guys coming in the market getting, quote unquote, our product and doing better than we are? And you know, the perception was, well, this guy signs on, and I don't use the you know, basement underwear analogy that a lot of other guys use. But until you break, you don't realize the work that's involved with it. I started doing breaks in 2008, just one a week. We did one the other night. We'll do one on Thursday night as well. But it's been interesting to see the evolution in the relationship. And a lot of breakers like yourself have become shop owners. So going with that, I mean, first off, it's nice to see that, you know, I never thought of anybody as an enemy, but just as another interested party. And we're all vampires fighting over the same blood, basically. But let me ask you, going with that, what motivated you to open a shop?
Necessity, more so than anything. So we actually opened our first store in New Jersey, only a year into breaking, about a year. Yeah, it wasn't even a year, half a year. I think the final straw for Sara was when we woke up in the morning and had teen bag strips in our hair. We had the peel off from the bubble mailer peel off as well.
Yeah.
They were like on the floor of our bedroom. We lived in a really small apartment. Before we started breaking, we came from very humble means. Neither one of us had very much money. We were struggling to get by. So when we very first started breaking, we had no space and we had stuff everywhere. Especially the busier I got, the messier it got. And it got really hard to kind of keep track of where everything was and where to put everything. We were at the time, we didn't even have a label printer in 2012. We were hand cutting labels with scissors. And then we upgraded to a paper cutter, I'm not joking.
That's awesome.
We had what do they call the guillotine cutter,
It's like the thing that you had in school that they'd freak you out if you try to went near it. You'd chop your fingers off. Sure.
Exactly. That's what we cut our labels with. And we were using Scotch tape to tape the labels down, and then we get packing tape to put on top of that. We were doing all of this it was probably a 400 square foot apartment with 1.5 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. We had very, very, very limited space when we first started. So we saved up. We ate ramen noodles. We begged, borrowed, and dealed. We sacrificed really everything we had at that point and put everything into opening the shop, just to kind of get it out of the apartment and legit. And our main goal was, at the time, breaking wasn't considered a legitimate operation in
right.
This is all still very, very new. Like Mike was said, the relationship between us and stores was non-existent at this point.
Right.
So it was our goal to open a store, and really we were pushing hard to legitimize breaking and what it was and what it was going to become at the time.
I know you have a fact checker there with you. So if Sara wants to sit in, she's more than welcome to. If she wants to be off camera, that's fine too. I've heard her voice enough just at the shop out on the breaks and stuff. But I know it's a family thing for you. I think that's outstanding. I think the fact that this all got started by her bringing home a box of cards is fabulous. I think nothing encourages me more than that.
Without her relationship, none of this even starts.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks, Sara. You've made a lot of happiness for me and some others that go on to Layton and do some breaks sometime. So that's fabulous.
Thank you.
So if Sara can still hear, what does it take to get a batch of pretzels shipped out?
I mean the homemade Sara pretzels.
Yes.
Yeah, they're special.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. And when I find out, you can be my first test subject.
Apparently you've got a buyer. You've got a buyer.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
What was the moment you realized that, okay, I'm a breaker, I've made it? What was, maybe not necessarily a moment, but maybe you totaled up a quarter, or you finally got to a certain number and buying or selling? For me, it took a while to realize, okay, so I own a card shop. How long am I going to do this for? And at one point I realized, wow, I think I might be stuck doing this for a while. So that was, not necessarily a moment, but when did you realize, oh my God, this is I'm going to be doing this for a while?
I'm not trying to sound, I don't know how to make this sound.
Braggadocious?
I'm never satisfied, ever. it's just how I am with everything, and I always have been that way. I mean, we were doing really well for ourselves in life around, 2007, 2006, 2007. I was building houses at the time. The market was strong. This is before the collapse of the real estate economy. At least in our area, it was. I was making a lot of money. Things were great. And I pushed really, really hard to work harder. I worked nonstop every day, every night. I burned the candle at both ends. So the housing market had collapsed. I fell off a ladder. I broke my ankle. I took a bad spill and I was really laid up. And I was in a walking boot. And then, like I had said, the real estate market just literally, the bubble had burst. All of my jobs disappeared overnight and we had no money coming in. So at that point, I my options were collect unemployment or go find just any job I could. And a lot of people I know at the time, they all just kind of went on unemployment. They were trying to wait it out and do this and do that. Honest to God, man, at that point, I got a job at Domino's Pizza. And I was working probably 60 hours, 70 hours a week at Domino's, delivering pizza. And just slinging pizzas. That's what I did for, a couple of years just to put money on the table until we could get back on our feet. And then next thing you know, that basically led almost right into where we started breaking. We just saved up money. We did everything we could to kind of get, the ball rolling with the card store and the card business industry and everything. So even to this day, I just, the guys at the shop and my employees kind of make fun of me for it. And, I always just, I'm never satisfied. I'm always pushing to be better at what we do and to be better for our customers and to be better just in life in general. I'm never going to be satisfied,
That's one of the fun things about being able to break. I mean, literally, if you got a computer and Wi-Fi and product, I mean, you can literally go 24/7. I'm guessing at this point you probably could, but the idea of that is probably unattractive. I get the feeling that literally, you could just plug in, literally, go live right now, have 200 people watching you in about 4 minutes.
We are live right now.
Oh.
Yeah, they are live right now. Yeah, Matt's fired up right now.
Yeah, Matt's over there ripping personals right as we speak on YouTube. So we're almost at max capacity without expanding. We're actually at the point now where we need a new building. We've completely outgrown it. It's packed to the gills. We have 10 employees now? We have 10 full-time employees now. 4 breakers if you include myself. We're 1, 2, 3, at least 3 days a week and 7 nights a week. So we're only basically 1 top loader and 1 breaker away from being 7 days and 7 nights. We can't get much bigger product, or I should say volume wise, unless we pretty much double the size of the building we're in at this point.
Speaking of top loaders, you got any?
So I just picked up a friend. So a friend of a customer of ours reached out to us and said they could get 100-point BCW top loaders. And we took them. It was like 5 cases or something. That'll last us probably a week. But 100-point and 120-point top loaders. Anybody listening out there that has 100-point or 120-point top loaders, hit me up because I'm buying.
Hook a brother up.
I see your post. Usually, when I moved, so I'm a Florida guy too. I grew up in Miami and I moved to Colorado in '87. So now it's interesting. When I got to Colorado, and it was 87. People would hear I was from Florida, and they go, "Can you get stuff?" But they didn't mean sports cards or top loaders.
Yeah. But they should be asking you that even more often now that you're in Colorado.
It's nice now that more states have it legalized to go to Vegas and say you're from
There's
Colorado.
a lot more card shops of that kind of stuff in Colorado now.
Yes. Yeah, there's a.
So, Rich, I'm going to give you a flashback. I'm going to give you the justice of why you don't want to live in Colorado. So, here you go. How about some snow?
God.
Just for?
It's blinding.
So I got to throw at you. I don't watch a lot of breakers. It's kind of like a hooker going home and like having more sex. I just don't watch breakers. So unless they work from home. So anyway, what we could say things. We could use analogies. It just means you can't have. Yeah. So like my favorite Rich moment was you're doing this flawless break. I figured this is the quintessential moment. You're doing a flawless break and you're assigning it by number. Right. And you want to take it?
Yeah, I'm assuming you're speaking of the 1-of-1 hot box that we had opened.
Yes.
It was a random left side serial number break, single box.
Yeah.
It was one box of flawless. Yeah, so there's 25 spots to the break. Everything's numbered to 25 or less. Whatever you pull that has the same left side serial number as in the break, that's what they get. And we opened the box and every card was numbered 1-of-1.
No skunk protection, sorry.
So everybody in the break ended up right. I mean, a break like that typically, I mean, it's a high risk, high reward break, and everybody knows what they're getting into before they purchase a spot. Like they know they can hit really big or go home with nothing. And that's kind of the fun of doing those single box flawless breaks.
Sure. Oh yeah.
It's a high risk, high reward. You just roll the dice and see.
You can't make Vegas, you go do a high end product break. That's how it works.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, when I opened the inner box and I saw the first card was 1-of-1, I was excited. I'm like, oh, nice, awesome start. And the second card is 1-of-1. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then the third card is 1-of-1, and I look over, and I believe Brad was top loading for me at the time. I said, these are all going to be 1-of-1, man. I'm like, you've got to. So sure as shit, man. They yeah. So every card's a 1-of-1. It wasn't the greatest box in the world. It was awesome because everything was 1-of-1, but nothing like crazy insane came out of it. But one person, I mean, you got to do the break by the rules, as we always do. One person got all the cards. They had the one spot. They got all the cards. So we ended up giving
one happy and 24 pissed.
Yeah, we ended up doing stuff for the other 24 participant or other 24 spots for that break. We gave them credit and some other stuff.
I think there was like a Jerry Rice and maybe like a Kurt Warner. And I agree with you. It wasn't an oh my God case. For me to know that, like I've watched that, your face when you're like, there's a sideways photo of you.
I did one of these.
You know, only a breaker in that kind of scenario could get sad of a 1-of-1 hot box. Oh. That's the concept of this stuff, right? It's like the more you pull, the more depressed you get, and you should be ecstatic for one guy, but you have 24 that are completely miserable.
You get in this weird. I mean, so we try to put ourselves in. I try to make it a point with all of our breakers that we put ourselves into the break, and meaning feel like you're a customer in the break you're doing. And that's like, that's been our objective from day one. Like you're on their side. You want them to hit big. You want them to have fun, and you want them to enjoy the experience flat out. If you're doing a break and you think it's boring, you're probably, there's something you're doing wrong. I mean, there's times when it can get, a bit long or whatever, and maybe the breaker is tired or they're not having the greatest of days. So it's not going to be perfect every time, but I try to make that a point with every single break. So when you open a 1-of-1 box in that style of break, you're super excited for the person getting the cards, but at the same time, you feel horrible for everybody else.
Right.
So I'm gonna stay away from which products you hate to break, because I want you to maintain your relationships with all the manufacturers. So what are your favorite?
remember, according to Sports Card Radio, Mike's the shill for the industry, so we're protecting him. And Rich, we're all Hall of Famers, so you can be proud of that small moniker. Anyway, Mike, go ahead.
So which products? Name a few products you really enjoy breaking, not from profit, but for fun, that you really get into. And then if you could share some of like maybe your biggest pulls you've ever had.
Wow. Okay. My favorite product to rip has got to be Triple Threads baseball. It kind of is what put us on the map in terms of social media. It was our first bat knob. We pulled a Stan Musial bat knob out of 2012 Triple Threads. In 2012, that's really what got us going, that product. We were doing 3-box divisional breaks of 2012 Triple Threads. And we did it over and over and over again. We had this really tight-knit crew at the time. I want to say it was Chris C., it was Lori, it was Gino, it was Chris with a K. I'm trying to rattle off the customer names that were in those breaks. Yeah, I'm kind of a freak like that. George was around back then. Ryan was around back then. I mean, we had a group of about 30 customers that just wanted 2012 Triple Threads over and over and over again. And at the time, you could actually get it. You could just kind of keep going back to the well until it was gone. It was a lot of fun. So that really, it just, every time we do Triple Threads, it takes me back to that point. It's just so much fun to rip. I'd rip it for myself. I'd rip, when I do it for group breaks, I enjoy it thoroughly. So yeah, that's got to be right up there. In terms of a non-baseball product, I'd have to say for basketball, it's flawless all day. It's not even close. And in football, I'd say flawless, but I don't want to use it twice. For football, I'd have to say, first off, actually, I really miss Triple Threads football. I used to love that product. I really, really miss Triple Threads, and there were a couple other Topps releases I really enjoyed. Right now, probably National Treasures football. You never know what you're going to get in a case of NT. Some of them are terrible, and some of them are the most insane cases you've ever seen. So it's
high risk, high reward. It's like 9 cases to get one, and it's incredibly painful product to open.
Yeah, sometimes
sometimes it does.
5 bad ones, and that one good one makes all 5 bad ones.
It's sitting down on the video poker machine, hitting the button 700 times, and the 701st time you hit a royal for $4,000 and go, "Oh, I'm in!" And it's the exact same feeling. I can tell you, as a pretty heavy gambler, I don't gamble much if I'm breaking cards, because it scratches the same itch, and it's an interesting concept, and it's great. I think I love it. I love it for people, because you never walk away with nothing, unless you're in a group break and you just get the 1 of 1 box and you're going to have one. But it's a satisfying process in my book.
In terms of, like our biggest all-time pool, was that the question, Mike?
Well, just cards maybe you enjoy. I mean, obviously, every time you pull a Brady, I know you kind of do a little freak out, but other than that, you're taking care of somebody, and obviously it's your guy. So
I mean, our biggest pull in terms of dollar amount is probably the 1819 NT Luca Logo Man RPA that Brad pulled. That changed multiple people's lives that day. Multiple people's lives. The person who pulled it, the person who bought it that day, that same person who recently resold it. I mean, that card has literally changed multiple people's lives in terms of in terms of opportunity and whatever else. To be a part of that and to be able to facilitate that was that's something you dream of being able to do for people, in terms of our position as a group breaker. I mean, the person who had won that card out of the break spent, I think it was at the time, a couple $100. That couple $100 turned to, I don't want to say how much it sold for at the time, but it was a lot of money. And he used it to pay for their daughter's wedding. And they used it to pay off like outstanding bills. And they used it towards you know, this, that, and the other thing. And I think they made like home improvements with it and everything else. Like that's life-changing money for somebody that doesn't have a ton of money. Like this person wasn't rich by any means. They were okay, you know, they weren't broke or anything, or they wouldn't probably be buying the breaks. But you know, and the person who had won the card, and it was a female, and she was ever so grateful. Like she was super, super, super kind and super nice and super thankful for that moment. And we'll never forget that. That was, I mean, Brad got sent money after the card had been sold. Brad was sent money as a tip and a thank you. You know, that was a really cool moment to be a part of.
That's awesome.
It's cool to be able to have those moments. It's I mean, I'm in my breaks. I mean, you're able to see that response immediately from people. And one of the things that I always enjoy about doing breaks is, you know, when I pull a monster, there's always it's that group feeling. It's kind of like being on a fishing boat. Somebody lands a monster and everybody else is standing there clapping. And it's a great feeling to have where you're, you know, obviously everybody wants to be that person. They want to be that guy or that lady. But yeah, it's incredible to have that feeling where you're like really giving people that much joy.
Yeah, you don't get to enjoy something like that, you know, super often. Like we get to pull, first off, we get to see a lot of really cool products, but we get to pull once in a while, we get to pull a life-changing card where that person gets the card and it changes their scope on the industry. It changes their scope on the hobby. It changes their scope on life in general. And to be able to do that with a piece of cardboard in these times is really, really, really cool and really humbling.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
One of your big things you make is you make a product called Almanac. And like how much fun is that? Are you like, so what's the planning process? Obviously it's find good big cards. Like what's the plan? Okay, I'm gonna put this much into it. And you know, your expectation, and now with the difficulty of getting more singles at competitive pricing. That's what are the challenges with that?
So it is fun to answer that. It is a lot of fun to put together. You know, I am a collector at heart and I always will be. So being able to just procure, you know, some amazing stuff to just hold it and look at it and enjoy it for a little while is awesome. But I mean, it comes with a lot of work. It comes with a lot of organization. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of pressure. I receive probably 10 emails a week asking me when the next Almanac product is. And I try to be pretty upfront with everybody. You know, it's not something I take lightly. I try to put myself in that product every time we do it. You know, I try to picture myself getting the worst hit in the case and getting the best hit in the case and something in between. So, you know, and I try to also think of what I would want out of the product. And, you know, I try to always put myself in the customer's position when putting that stuff together. So it's a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, when we get to do it and we get to that last case of whatever, a 20 case run or a 10 case run or whatever we're doing, and everybody's in chat, we have, you know, 500 people watching, and everybody, all of a sudden, like I get this outpouring of thanks from a lot of different people that join those breaks or even just watch those breaks. I have people thanking me for doing that product that don't even join the product, which is awesome. So it tells me we're doing something right for some people. And that alone makes it worth all the time we put into
it. I know.
You know, it's a lot like Rich. It's all like Antique Roadshow to me. And like, you know, I don't. You're not going to buy anything off of Antique Roadshow, but watching the stuff people pull out, you know, having been in some of your Almanac breaks, that the stuff is pretty awesome. And the time and effort went into it. And you know, have I been disappointed because I got number 10 in a draft or whatever it is? Sure. But you know what? Some of those cards I'm never getting rid of in that play. Is there have there been, you have to go buy all this stuff. Have there been cards that you've bought for that product that you've gone, oh God, I don't want to put it in there. I want to keep it. I mean, has there been some that you like rip your heart out and you're like, okay, but I got to do it. It's part of the job.
So both ends of that spectrum, actually, the opposite of that as well, where I've bought cards for that product and they've tanked. Because
right.
I buy for this product pretty much year round. There's times when I stop buying
right.
and start again. So I'll have gone out and spent, I bought too high on a certain player, and then I have to either put him in at a much lower value, or I just don't put him in at all and they sell it and try to recoup my losses.
Sure.
And that happens
more
often than the opposite, actually, where once in a while I get lucky and I put a bunch of money into, let's say Tatis or something, and I buy a bunch of Tatis before he explodes. And I get to make a little bit of margin on that. And that's great because there isn't a lot of margin in this product at all.
Right.
It's pretty much, it's like retail price. Here it is, if you do the math on the almanac breaks, especially the last few almanac breaks we've done, it literally adds up almost to the dollar. In terms of what comes out of it, in terms of what we charge for it. But there's a few cards there's been a few that I've procured over the years for almanac that turned into, no, that's not going in the product. There's no way. That's now my card. I recently bought a massive collection of bat knobs and bat barrels from a friend of mine. And there's a Manny Ramirez Boston Red Sox cameos bat barrel or bat knob in it. Yeah, that's not going in an almanac.
That's because you don't want to disappoint people.
No. Oh, very funny. Yeah.
So I want to touch on something for you. You don't have to address this, but we recently had the industry summit, and somehow for the second straight year, first off, it's a great event. Ted, everybody involved with Beckett, Alex, they do a tremendous job at the event. But I do have to say, and leave this alone, jump in, for the second straight year, and they do have a breaker of the year category. Somehow for the second straight year, they've avoided putting you in there. And I will fall on the sword for you. But how that award gets created and how you're not nominated and how you're not included with that is beyond me. And you can touch that or you can leave that one alone. But it's incredible to see, and there's great guys on there, but it's incredible to see like some of the OG that are still doing it, not getting the recognition that they deserve.
Okay, so that's a kind of a loaded question. So first off,
I gave you the option of skipping it.
No, it's okay. First off, I'm going to put on my best politician hat right now. First off, the people who have won the last 2 years in a row, Real Breaks, Tom and Ryan, are super freaking awesome dudes. Just so we're all clear. I really like those guys. And we've actually grown to become, I'd like to say, pretty good friends over the last couple of years of getting to know each other and everything. We joke with each other all the time, and I've seen their breaks many times, and they do a really, really good job. So the fact that they won is awesome, and I'm super happy for those guys. The other people that were nominated, I know all of them, and they all do a really, really good job. All of them do a super good job. There's nobody on that list that shouldn't have won or couldn't have won. I saw it when they announced it initially. Somebody pointed in my direction to it and said, "Rich, how come you're not on this list?" And I said, I have no idea. And that was 2 years ago when I guess I first heard of it. I'm not an awards guy. It's not my cup of tea. I just, if I win, then awesome. If I get nominated, awesome. If I don't, awesome. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that our customers have a safe place and a fun place to go and have a good time together. And if I'm providing that and they're happy and we're happy and everybody's we all have this happy you know, kind of a give and take between each other, and we're providing a entertainment for those guys. There's not much else I can do, you know.
Well, you got my vote.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
So, Rich, tell me, is there a take out the Tom Brady jersey, take out the Manny bat knob. Is there a collectible that you have at home that would be the last thing you'd ever get rid of if it came to the end of all this stuff? What's the thing you're holding on to dearly?
Actually, recently, there's probably 2 items now. There was a couple, and then I moved one of them to kind of free up space for some other stuff. But right now, I mean, I have a 2000 Brady Contenders rookie ticket auto 9510. That's never going anywhere. That's a
boy, good job.
I'll pass that along, and that'll be that. Or maybe when it's time to retire, you know, maybe I'll sell that card and buy Sara a pretzel making machine or something. I don't know.
Hey, Rich, do you remember how and when you got that card?
No, I've had it for a while.
Okay.
So I've had like 6 different BGS 9 mint 10s. I had one, I sold it. I had another one, I sold it. I had 2 at one time, and I sold them both. And then I got another one and sold it. And then recently, I'd say last year, picked up another 910 and then recently sold it. I'd say probably half the way through all those, I came across a 9510. And I probably paid half of what it's worth now, maybe less than half. That card is ridiculously. It's hard to gauge value on that card because you never see them.
Right.
And there's only a handful on the pop report, so you know. The other one, I recently just picked up a card that I've always dreamed of owning. It isn't the biggest card in the world, but it's 52 mantle. PSA 1.5. I know it's not the best grade in the world. It has awesome color.
Right.
The color on the front and back is like perfect, and I love the look of it. And it's like, I mean, when you first get into the industry, or at least when I first got in the industry, I was like, wow, we went to Cooperstown and learned about the Honest Wagner tobacco cards and learned about this, that, and the other thing. And obviously as a kid growing up, it's the 89 Upper Deck Griffey Jr. I have, that card in a PSA 10 in my collection. But I just recently had a chance to buy that card, and I couldn't pass it up. I didn't really, that's something that, I mean, everybody wishes they had a 52 mantle. If you're a baseball card collector, everybody wants a 52 mantle. Doesn't matter if it's a 1 or a 5 or whatever the grade is.
Right.
I feel like that's like a quintessential, just iconic card that you have to own. If you can afford it. I mean, even the PSA 1s are something close to what, $15,000, $18,000 right now or something like that.
Yeah, they're expensive. Yep, they're up there.
You used to be able to get a PSA 1 not that long ago for less than $10,000.
Correct. Yeah, I've gotten in 4 or 5 breaks where that was the headline sell sheet card just to try to get it, and didn't. But it's one of the ones. It's like there's 3 left on my list of cards I always wanted. That's one of the 3. I've gotten almost every other card. There are 3 left, and that's probably the apex one in my view. Yeah,
there's a couple others out there that I don't own that I'd like to own before like I retire. I mean, I'll get around to it. It's just, I try not to lose sensitivity to things, especially cards like that.
Sure.
I see a lot of different cards, and we see a lot of high value cards, especially modern stuff. So my collection recently has shifted more vintage. I've kind of shifted out of modern, just to kind of keep things fresh, if you will. I still have modern stuff in my collection. They're usually like knobs or barrels, and obviously Brady stuff and everything else. I have some Peyton rookie stuff, and you know, I mean, I just try to keep things different. At one point, I did super collect Aaron Dobson, so that didn't work out too well. I had literally every single card produced for Aaron Dobson, like one of every card. There was, I think, I want to say two one-of-ones that I never got. I think one was out of NT and one was out of NT and one was out of Optic or something. I want to say Optic or Donruss or something or other. I forget what it was, but that wasn't the best investment. Turned around and sold that. We all have some of those. Collection for probably a tenth of what I paid for it. So that was a tough loss.
Yeah, I was when the Derek Williams, Kyrie Irving draft came out. I was a Derek Williams guy. I was not a Kyrie Irving guy, and that hurt. That hurt a lot because that was. Yeah, I know. I was like, man, I was like, he's like ultra talent. Yeah, but he has no position. And like Kyrie Irving, this is before he became, you know, Uncle, whatever the hell his name was. You know, all that got crazy. So, yeah, Uncle Drew. Yeah. So, yeah.
Guys, I hate to cut short. I promised my family a shopping trip this morning. But Sean, you want to first off thank Rich. Thank you for. Well, wait a second. You're Florida. You didn't have to wake up early today. So unless this is early for you.
I've been waking up early every day lately.
Okay.
Right. So, Rich, we do want to give you a couple minutes. Just, you know, you get the floor. Give us a couple minutes of whatever you want to talk about and promote. Please do so. The floor is yours.
For those countless folks who've never heard of Layton Sports Cards, you know, that small little industry that nobody's ever, you know, who are you again?
So, I believe it or not, there's quite a few people who hadn't heard of us, being that there's so many new people in the industry.
Right.
You know, I think the best way to kind of get into what we do and kind of find us is to find us on YouTube. Just search Layton Sports Cards or even Layton Sports. Click on a video, go to our channel, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have over 30,000 subscribers on there right now, and it's growing every day. It's a great way to kind of get into our community and kind of get the ball rolling and see what we do and watch us live and watch our old videos or new videos or whatever. That's definitely the best way to get into what we do. You can always go to our website, LaytonSportsCards.com, and subscribe to our newsletter, and kind of just check us out from there. We're all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have a lot of people watch us on Instagram. We actually don't go live on Instagram. We just post pictures of our polls and everything. People seem to enjoy it. But yeah, we actually have a lot of new changes coming up here. We actually are launching a new logo for Layton Sports Cards, kind of a new look. We figured 8+ years with that original logo that we came up with on day one. We figured it was time for a change. We kind of want to keep up with the times and modernize the look of things and kind of get the tech and the website up, you know, freshened up and have the stream with a new look and kind of get caught up, if you will. So we're excited for that. So yeah.
Rich, thank you.
Great, Rich.
It's always great talking with you. And see, and you were all afraid we were going to bring up the Broncos Patriots game last week and just talked about that for an hour.
The Patriots looked like a team who had one practice and one walkthrough. That's what they look like.
So, Rich, if you ever come to Denver, my business partner, the guy that married me for in my wedding, he is from Boston. He's from Worcester. He's a gigantic Patriots fan. If you ever come to Denver, trust me, you will get fed well, and you probably will have some robust conversations with him. The invitation's open.
Multiple people and multiple open invitations to go out that way. And Sara and I, when we have listen, we live in an ever-changing release calendar, and we live and die by that release calendar. And sometimes it gets really tough to get away. However, when we see a nice open opportunity, we actually have a camper that we have a tow behind camper that we like to take. And it'd be really cool if we could set aside the time to kind of make drive our way out there, drive part almost all the way across the country and kind of do some camping and stuff. And Sarah's looking at me like, when are we leaving? So,
Sean,
well, not right now.
Really
so yeah.
It's really easy. All you need to do is just wait till Labor Day weekend, 2021, hopefully, when we have a 3-night set of fish at Dick's.
Yeah.
And then we'll hopefully get these guys out here. That should have been your back.
Yeah.
I forgot to tip you off that if you had a fish background, he probably would have been happier about that than me at Tom Brady.
Yeah. So, Rich, hopefully, if this count ever works, it has to be when the Celtics play the Nuggets here, and you can come to the brand new Ball Arena, and you'd like where you're sitting if you came with me and watched the game. So, hey, Rich, we do appreciate greatly you coming on the show.
And my pleasure.
Thanks. I think, it's great to hear a guy who, you're in the industry, but you're not just a business guy, you're a collector. And I think it shows in both the products that you put out and the energy you guys all show on air when you're breaking. So thank you for the entertainment and the joy you're giving all of us. And, with that, we'll sign off. Thanks everybody for listening. And you can find the links to Rich's YouTube channel and to his website in the body and the description of our show today. And I thank you all for joining us here in the Card Shop.
Great.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a lot, guys.